My friends, I don't live in the Pacific Northwest, but if you do, then you're familiar with all the quakes that have been happening over the last couple of weeks. Could it be that there is an information blackout intentionally? I don't know. I won't even get into the conspiracies of all this, but here's the deal. In the last, and you can check USGS, you can check, I'm just looking at Newsweek. And it says here that Yellowstone supervolcano earthquake swarm reaches 878 events in 2 weeks, nearly 900 quakes to some degree or another. I'm not saying that they're all big ones, but some type of seismic activity in the last 2 weeks, and over 400 in the last week. In fact, just yesterday there was a quake in the general region that was nearly 5.8. And what did it do? Well, let's talk about it. They could hear it. It was in western Montana. They could feel it in surrounding states, including Canada. Now, there have always been earthquakes, and I'm not here to fearmonger or to say, oh, it's time to panic. But I do think that it at least deserves some time and attention, because we're not just talking about earthquakes and what they can do as far as the damage is concerned. We know what quakes can do. We see the devastation in all parts of the globe. But it's undeniable that the quakes have increased in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in the Montana region. And how does that relate to Yellowstone? Well, the fear is this, and of course scientists and experts are trying to reassure us that we have nothing to worry about, and they contend that that the last time that there was a supervolcano as a result of seismic activity and other factors was thousands and thousands of years ago, according to the way that they record history. And I'm not here to necessarily dispute their claims, but even scientists can't rule out 100% a worst case scenario. And we just need to talk about that. Again, not to panic, because look, I mean, no matter where you live in the world, you could live in, for example, in the Caribbean, in Florida, and get devastated by a hurricane. You could live in Texas or Oklahoma and get just your whole place destroyed by a tornado. I mean, we know that natural disasters happen. I mean, look at the tsunami that affected in Indonesia and other parts of the Pacific, and hundreds of thousands of lives lost. So I understand that, but we're talking about what a volcano can do, a supervolcano, because this is, if something like this were to happen, this would make Mount St. Helens, which took place in the early 80s, was it 1980? Look like child's play. I'm serious. And it caused more than $1 billion worth of damage back then. But a supervolcano, if it were to happen, would affect our weather patterns. Of course, those in the immediate area would be the most affected, but we could move into a global cooling, I hate to say ice age scenario. I don't know, but this has happened in history. We know that several hundred years ago, this actually happened in that there was a major volcano that affected Iceland in such a way that lives were lost, not by the volcano itself, but because of the crop failures and all of the things that happen as a result of the ash and the darkness that come over the atmosphere from the volcano, and talking about the supervolcano here. So again, I'm not saying that anything's going to happen. I please know that. all I'm doing is saying this. Anyway, someone trying to get a hold of me. All I'm saying is this. When it comes to news like this that comes out, and I was just reading a report on Newsweek. It's on many other outlets as well. And you can check USGS and see that clearly something is happening with seismic activity. And will this increase the risk of any type of volcanic activity, and specifically at Yellowstone? I hope and pray it never does. But when things like this happen, we cannot just stick our heads in the sand and pretend that it's not there. We have to at least be willing to talk about it. And that's one of the things, as I just wrap up this video blog here today, that I believe is so important. I don't care what the information is. Let information flow freely. In other words, don't censor me. Hey, I don't want to be censored. I talked about that earlier today. You don't need to be censored on whatever it is. And you got information, you deserve, and you have the right to share it. No one wants to be squelched or censored. That's what I love about, and let me tell you something else. Talking about social media for a moment, when this last earthquake hit up there in the Northwest, just yesterday, it created a Twitter storm, mainstream, and it was a trending topic on Twitter. So, they may try to suppress these news articles, the mainstream media, but the point of the matter is that when people start realizing what's going on, they'll speak out. But in general terms, we have the right to talk about this, and I will beat that drum. I will shout it from the rooftops that we should always just be all about having a voice, no matter what it is. So my prayers are with those really in that entire region and in our country, because this is something to at least not to be panicked about, but at least to have a healthy concern over. And so that's where I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your support of what I do, my video blogs. I really, really appreciate it. I do not, and I don't just say this, I do not take your support lightly. This is I consider my place and my role as a Steamian, if you want to refer to me as that, as someone on Steamian, as I consider it a privilege to be here. And so I just want you to know that. So thank you for all of your upvotes, your re-steams, your kind comments. I do thank you for that. And don't forget that you can follow me at Breaking Tonight. One last thing, if you're watching this on steamit.com or on YouTube and you're not part of the Steamit community, be a part. Sign up today, and you'll be glad you did. Of course, this is my perspective. The views that I express on this are my own, and not a reflection of anyone else or any other entity. But these are my views, and as far as the way things operate, and so let's just keep on keeping on. And thanks again.